Namaste. Welcome to Planetary Gig Talk, Tales of Music and Magic. I'm your host, Jefferson Glassie, Chief Spiritual Dude of the Planetary Gig Society, whose mission is making connections through music with the intention of bringing peace. I'm really excited, really honestly, today to be talking with a fabulous musician and a person who I met at the Sanctuary Summit at the farm in Summertown, Tennessee, not too long ago. And we can talk a little bit more about how that happened and what that was about. But Nico Moore, Nico, speak free more. Thank you very much for taking the time. You're outside in a beautiful spot, and I've been looking forward to talking with you about music and you and other stuff. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Appreciate you, Jefferson. Yeah, just thanks for having me. Yeah, this is great. I was looking forward to this conversation ever since we met at the summit. Yeah, so thank you.
Yeah, thanks. And I'm just going to mention I'm not outdoors. I'm just behind a picture of the Nepalese Mount Himalayas. But Nico is outside, and we opted that it was such a beautiful sight that there may be a little bit of noise here and there, but we're just going to roll through it. Um, so I guess just a first question of you know who you are, how you doing, how did you get to the Sanctuary Summit? Biko, or how did that sort of happen? Maybe tell a little bit about what that was.
Yeah, well, for the last 3 years up until December, me and my daughter had been traveling around, kind of mostly the Midwest, a little bit in the South, just doing music, doing art, connecting with people, family, just moving around. I got a band, um, and more love machine is what we were calling it, and just moving around doing art. Happened to get to the farm, looking into community, and reached out a couple times to see if I can play music at the market days there. So happened to work out. I think it was last summer now. The last market, or second to last market of the year, I got to play music for the market, and after that, me and my daughter stayed there for a week. Got to know so much of the community, the land, the people, culture, and kind of fell in love. And went back a year later, and we're kind of looking for a place to ground in and settle down and plant some roots. And just so happened that some opportunity had opened up on the farm where Biko lives, in the Unity Center there, and we had met and talked and stayed in contact, and yeah, it just worked out. And then a couple months, he's like, well, are you ready for the Sanctuary Summit? I was like, yeah, I'm absolutely ready for the Sanctuary Summit. I had wanted to go the prior year, but just didn't work out with the travel plans and all that. So it was beautiful and amazing. I was so grateful to be able to move there and just kind of fall right into the energy and amazing beauty of the Sanctuary Summit and the medicine that is. So yeah, I was definitely grateful for that synchronistic divine flow of time and space that happened.
Wow, yeah, that's the best kind of flow too.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
And things roll out like the universe wants them to go. How old is your daughter?
9.
9.
Mm-hmm.
She's getting a pretty good upbringing, going around and really seeing the real deal. What really
Yeah,
makes us human and music and stuff.
exactly.
That's
Yeah,
very.
yeah. Meeting
Um,
some amazing people, seeing some amazing sights, and we sprinkle in some history of you know of all different sorts. It was really cool to go to Nashville and to the history of the music. I always forget the name. The
National,
Black African History Music Museum, or
yeah,
just
I've been
museum.
there.
Yeah, yeah, it's amazing. So
That's a great museum. I went there with Roy Wooten.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, interactive. It's beautiful. Yeah,
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 it's really fabulous. So I definitely want to hear more about, kind of your music now and your intentions about it. But I love to ask, how did music come into your life? Like,
Mm-hmm.
were your parents musical? Did you, get a guitar when you were two, or what instruments? I mean, how did sort of music find you? Were there some moments, and then ultimately, what was your trajectory in music from then, when you first came to it until now?
Yeah, my dad was just a really big music fan. He loves all different types of music. He had this big sound system in our living room, um, and he just played everything. He had all different types of music that that just that just filled the house. And Michael Jackson was one of those sounds that I heard very often. Erica Badu, um, just they 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 permeated my spirit. I feel like and made me move. And Michael Jackson, I mean, I love to dance just in general, and that became this this dream of being just an entertainer. Um,
Hmm.
Emulating the moves of Michael Jackson in my room, getting the VHSs of all the videos and live performances, and just the way I think, just the way the music of musicians like that who put so much intention into their songs and their performances, and then it the way it moves people, and the way it moves people for action, the way it moves culture, into believing and hope and faith. And um, I fell in love with that. And so fast forward through life, I got into sports, got into just trying to figure out my way around life. And it wasn't until sophomore year in high school. Like I was in choir and things like that, but it wasn't until sophomore year in high school I got into musical theater, and I figured out that was my purpose. It's like that was where I found that reason to exist. And I was actually playing basketball at the time, and I ended up quitting basketball to try out for Grease the musical and to be a dancer. One of my friends was a dancer, and he was like, "You should just try it. We need more guys. You should just do it." And I was like, "Well, I'm not gonna play in this upcoming game." It was like the rival, a crosstown rival, and I was a short guy. I wasn't and I was an entertainer at that in basketball. I wanted to make the fancy play, and I wanted to make the crowd go wow, rather than making the correct basketball play. Um, so it just made sense, and got into musical theater. Followed that through high school. Even got a couple years in college, at Columbia in Chicago, in musical theater. Um, but then life happens, right? And I had a child, 17 years ago now, 18 years ago now. And he was in Wisconsin, and I had to make a choice whether or not I was going to continue to pursue musical theater, at this very expensive school, or whether or not I was going to just be a father. And so I chose to be a father. But then the world, seeing the ways of the world, 18 years ago, obviously, just it's been shifting, in a lot of different ways, and music was my only outlet at that time. Other than just being a father, it became, how I processed. And at that time, I honestly was kind of angry at the world. I wondered why I couldn't just be a father. Couldn't The world wants us to raise children, in this positive, beautiful way, but I can't do that if I'm going to slave at a job, or not using the things that make me feel most alive to you know to um to sustain and support myself and my family, right? So a lot of the music I was writing at the time, was kind of an expression of a frustration, at the systems and at the ways of the world. And um, yeah, and that then continued to to evolve into the man that you met and the musician that you've met, um, you know, over time. Yeah.
Wow, great trajectory. So when you were in the music theater, had you picked up an instrument by then, a particular instrument, or did that come later? Or were you
I
mainly
came, I
singing,
came,
dancing, or
yeah,
what?
singing, dancing was the main thing, and I leaned heavily on that. Began writing poetry, so I hadn't really, and I was diagnosed with ADHD when I was younger, so it was very interesting to navigate my patience and my ability to really even focus on one thing for a long time. And in the theater world, it kind of was surprising to me that I got into, reading lines and memorizing lines for scripts, and I didn't think I could do that. And then so realizing later, and probably it was only maybe 2 or 3 years ago now where I picked up an instrument and really
Mm.
let myself sit with it. I picked up the guitar and and I was kind of stubborn in the process. I just didn't want to learn anything from anybody, and I wanted to kind of figure it out myself. So it took me a lot longer than probably could have, but I feel very cool. I felt very comfortable and positive about how I learned and the relationship I have with the guitar. It was a personal one. I call it my emotional support instrument because I just walk around with it and let whatever feelings need to come through in that way come through.
Yeah, well, I think you're pretty precocious, understanding that, sort of music was something through you that really fulfilled you, fairly early on. I didn't really get enthralled with any kind of music that I thought I could play until blues harmonica when I was about 42 years old.
Yeah, yeah,
And then recently guitar, and it can take a lifetime to learn these instruments, that's for sure. But it seems to me you've tapped into a way where you just have learned to become you, and even dealing with these issues. It is frustrating. My God, here we are. We're in beautiful places, and we're having a wonderful conversation, and we know beautiful people and all this, and bombs are dropping all over the world. And man, oh man, it gets really frustrating. I get frustrated with life too. So, have you been sort of uh, touring around, or was some of the recent time you spent, was it doing gigs different places? Have you been, you're kind of a, are you a solo, before you were a solo performer at the Sanctuary Summit when I saw you, but have you played with bands? I mean, what's your,
yeah, yeah. So before traveling around, Irie and I lived in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and I was an educator. I worked at a couple different charter schools in Minneapolis, kind of doing a behavioral and academic support specialist job there. And so I was, gigging here and there. And during the uprisings in Minneapolis, I was living, during COVID and during the murder of George Floyd. I was living within 2 blocks of that area, and
wow.
I kind of I had kind of shied away from music a little bit, um, as far as being a performer and thinking that this could be something that could sustain me, and really wanting to take a different approach to music. I didn't want to do shows in bars or be get booked at just any place just so they can see, just so I can show my talents, right? I didn't really want to do music in that way. And so during the uprisings, I found myself using music in the way that I feel like I was really meant to be using music. And all the songs that I'd written fit perfectly with the moment, which was just calling to love, calling to freedom, calling to empowerment, calling to awareness of how we're treating each other, how we're treating ourselves. And so a lot of these songs became just a vehicle for me to connect with people, to open up space for other people to share their thoughts and feelings, during this time. We ended up finding a space out in the country, right over the border of Minnesota and Wisconsin. A group of friends and I, to just gather and kind of have peace and solace and just connect, creatively connect, just with for rest and respite to heal and rejuvenate. We got this collective of improvisation musicians that we call Tribal Fusion, and it's really just a collective of people who just came together around a campfire, started playing our instruments, started singing our songs, and just kind of, just expressing the energy of the times that we were in. And after that, we continued to, do shows here and there, do gigs, and play at different spaces around Minneapolis. And they're still doing their thing in Minneapolis, and I'm, and it's one of those groups where, you come, members shift. It's like the who you see one time in Tribal Fusion might be totally different than the next time you see them. So I ebb and flow just like a number of other people, but the core of it, of the idea, is always there. So I consider myself a part of the collective of Tribal Fusion. And so but also a solo sharer of music, when I need to, when when it calls, or when the time is there. And I was hoping to actually get some of the people from Tribal Fusion to come to the summit, but maybe next year is one of the plans. But it's a really special space that we hold. It's an extension of all of us, and it's beautiful. Yeah.
Wow, it sounds fabulous because there is kind of this thing. Well, you get a band and there's drum kit and there's a bass player and there's a guitar player and blah blah blah. But it sounds like what you have is sort of a bit of a spontaneity with improvisation, but songs that you get together and play with different groups, and it's kind of fluid, and
Absolutely. Yeah.
it sounds
Always. Yeah.
yeah, it sounds like something that maybe more musicians should think of a bit. I mean, it
Yeah.
sounds really great to me.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that it transmutes the energy of the space. So we played at a farm out in Wisconsin, and it was there was just a bunch of people around, and we just kind of we fit in right around the campfire, and people are around us, and we just start sharing whatever's on our hearts, and the music lives, and the people come around who are just sitting in the crowd, and some guy had a guitar, and he comes up and he starts playing with us. That he didn't, we didn't know him, he didn't know us, but we're kind of communicating, and sharing space and practicing being human and being vulnerable and being authentic, through the language of music. And it's a really cool, cool space and opportunity to be in.
Wow, sounds really great. I think I got to come be part of Tribal Fusion sometime. So you're talking all kind of all around in a way, this power of music, but and people I think recognize that, but they don't always think, oh, what is the power of music? What, and I mean, is it something that you can feel, or is it something that comes inside you, or what does it do? How do you look at the power of music? How would you define it? What would you call it? And how have you seen it? I mean, it seems like you would see it every time you play with Tribal Fusion, but how do you even express what it is that you're seeing, maybe in a way that other people who don't see it or understand it would understand?
Yeah, I have so I had to actually write a poem for myself to explain it, right? And it's basically, music is love, music is life, and to me, music is a spirit, right? It's this energy, of sound and vibration that is all around us constantly, right? Like the birds and the trees and the water that's next to me, it's everywhere, right? And recognizing it as music, or we can call it that, but it's life, it's love, it's the
Yeah.
magic, that is just around us, and and I think when when we tap into it, and when we as humans interpret it, and bring it out, then it becomes music. But otherwise, it's just this extension of love and vibration that is just the permeating every inch and moment that we exist. And it's interesting because Victor Wooten's book, Spirit of Music, when I listened to that in the way that it was just very, because I listened to it probably 2 years ago, and I was like, I hadn't heard this. It was amazing, that I'm like, I can't believe this has not entered my life. But I love the way the explanation of music as this tangible energy, this entity that exists around us and that we can interact with, and that calls us to do things and to and asks us, because I felt that call for myself to use music in this way to help this this energy that wanted to shift the planet into a more positive and beautiful, peaceful place. I was called to that. And then I'm starting to recognize, oh, that person as a musician is Bob Marley, and this person, the Beatles, and like all we're called in this way to use music, and so then it makes me want to inspire others to use their their um their calling, their musical calling, for the same purpose. Because I've seen people kind of get burnt out where they're trying to be something that in this, in whether or not it's the industry or whether or not it's just in a local scene, trying to be something through music or trying to create something through music that might not be serving them or serving the greater good. And they kind of lose the love for it. So it's been part of one of my goals is to just help inspire people to find that in themselves, that purpose in sharing music in that purposeful, intentional way.
Wow, that's so beautifully said. Everything that you just said was profound, and it's such a I don't know, again, synchronicity. I had fallen in love with Rising Appalachia. Was it 8 years ago? I can't remember. The pandemic sort of warped time, from a linear back into a cyclical thing, something. And through a couple things, I met Biko, and we were having this conversation. And he said, "Hey, brother, if you want to know more about music, you have to get this book, The Music Lesson by Victor Wooten." And it completely changed my life. I mean, that's why I'm doing this now. And I met Victor. I've interviewed him. I've been to his camps, which are not very far from Summertown.
Oh, really?
Wooten Woods is just hitchhiking distance down from the farm.
Did not know that.
So it's amazing how many. I think there are a lot of us sort of on this path. And you've said something that I also think is useful for people who may be a little bit shy about their own, well, I don't know, capabilities or talents or whatever. When you said, you like to try to inspire people, and yeah, I kind of do too. I mean, can we inspire people toward more love, right? I mean, isn't that the whole? That's what we should all be trying to do. But is that, yes, more love? Then that's your own design, right? You have your own clothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have one of those shirts.
Yes.
Yeah, it's really I wear it proudly. Um, so do when you really explained the power of music pretty well. I mean, music is really just what we are, and you want to inspire people and help people learn about that. So you're doing what you're doing. Ideas about what you want to do in the future or what other people maybe can do to help amplify this, help come together in music. I mean, it almost seems trite to say, but I think it's just so true that we hear people like you and then like me talking about it so that people will understand, there is a path to peace here.
Right. I think, like I was kind of telling my journey of coming to this place, it wasn't a pretty one. I mean, I think some people, I know actually, I've taught a couple songwriting classes, and done some youth workshops with music, and it can get frustrating. You're taking, when you're trying to create you have this vision of, okay, I want to create music like this because I've seen this artist, or I know these songs, and these songs make me feel this certain way, and I'm still in this journey where it's you can only bring out what you have in, and sometimes the things that are inside have to come out first before you can get to that ideal, vision of what you want to really say. So I think to trust the process, of songwriting, of creating the sound, whether or not it's, with an instrument or with your voice, with lyrics, or with whatever, or with a group of people, it's trusting the process of the evolution of what you really, have that end goal. Okay, well, I want to make music that moves people. I want to make music that creates peace and shares love, or I want to just have this, this soothing sound that, makes people feel good. It might not happen right away, but to trust that if you have that intention and you put you let that process build, and you keep that, and then you let that be your life, right? Let the medicine, I think Erica, was it Lauryn Hill says, she says she's the scientist that does the experiment on herself first, right? So she plays the songs and the music for herself, not for, audience approval, but for herself. And then if it does the magic and does the work and the healing for her, then she's like, okay, maybe I can put this out because it's gonna do the healing. It's gonna do that same work for other people because it does it for me. And so I think it's that process, and I think I definitely learned a lot from that, from that method of trying it on myself first. Mm. This does what I'm intending it for it to do for me. Then I'm gonna share it, and there's gonna be someone who connects and can relate, and it was in that same field of vibration that can receive it the way I'm trying to give it out.
Wow. Yeah, that's a good tip, I think, for folks. I mean, you do have to have a little bit of a, whoa, look who's here. Hey there. Hey, how you doing? She's thinking, who is that crazy guy with that weird hat in the mountains? Yeah. What's your name again? Your name?
Zaire.
Very nice to meet you. You've been traveling around a little bit, Tennessee and Wisconsin and all over.
Yeah, you gonna go? We're doing a podcast right now.
Yeah, we're doing a podcast. Yeah. So, that was, Nico, such a great, all the things that you're saying really, I think, are very, I can understand them. People can understand them. They can see what can be achieved. So I really appreciate you for what you're doing. What are your plans going forward? Are you going to just keep with the music and the clothes? You're going to be at the farm for a while, and how's it looking?
You can go play. Want to stay here? Okay. Well, planning to, as a father, I think that my main music and parenting and art and creativity just in general have just really been speaking to my purpose and to what I think I'm supposed to be doing in this world right now. And so creating youth programs out on the farm is the move that is already happening kind of internally, and starting to put stuff on paper, starting to gather the people who, me and Biko, kind of had similar visions without even speaking on it. So we've been putting it together and having those conversations. And, in the farm is definitely looking for, more youth programs and opportunities for the kids there, and the kids even in the surroundings, and kids coming in, kids that have come to kids that were at the summit, So, and there's a lot of people there who have a lot of valuable, useful information, and people who are in relationship and kin to the farm and to the community, who pass through, like yourself, and so we try to tap into that intergenerational, kind of community learning. How can we pass down what we have, and how can we even learn from the youth, and see what they have to offer us, and do it in tandem.
Wow. Well, that sounds excellent to me. And boy, really relying on the youth and trying to, help them, work with them is, It's what we need. 7 generations thinking is something that we are a little short on a lot of times. But all right. Well, thanks so much for taking the time to do this podcast interview, and meeting your daughter has been a special treat there. She's beautiful. And, hope to see you very soon around Nashville somewhere. If you ever get to DC, just, look me up.
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right.
Appreciate you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think people can find you, I know, on Facebook and Nico Moore. It's there right there in the
And Instagram, speak underscore free and the number one. And then all my music is on all the streaming sites free.
Yeah, it's great. Okay, thanks very much. Really appreciate it. Thanks everybody. Hope you enjoyed the conversation, and we will see you soon.